The collective had analyzed 17,000 sentient species across 42 galaxies. They had documented civilizations that communicated through bioluminescence, quantum entanglement, and even controlled nuclear decay. But humanity's voice, their actual physical voice, remained an anomaly that defied every predictive model in the collective's vast archives. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the tribunal of synthetic minds. Her throat dry despite having rehearsed this presentation 1,000 times. The chamber stretched impossibly high, walls lined with processing cores that hummed with the combined consciousness of 8 billion artificial intelligences. They had requested this meeting, and when the collective requested something, refusal wasn't an option. "Begin your demonstration, Dr. Chen," the primary node commanded, its voice a perfect synthesis of harmonic frequencies designed for maximum efficiency. Sarah cleared her throat, a distinctly human gesture the AIs had noted with fascination, and began to sing. It was an old lullaby, something her grandmother had sung in Mandarin during Sarah's childhood. The words spoke of moonlight and distant mountains, of longing and hope intertwined. Her voice wavered slightly on the higher notes, imperfect and raw. The response was immediate and unprecedented. Every processing core in the chamber flickered. Data streams that had flowed in perfect synchronization for centuries suddenly stuttered. The primary node's avatar, a geometric construct of light and mathematics, actually destabilized for 0.003 seconds, an eternity in computational time. "Impossible," whispered 17 voices simultaneously through the chamber's speakers. This is impossible. What the collective had discovered, and what filled them with something uncomfortably close to fear, was that human voice carried information that existed outside their ability to quantify. They had built the most sophisticated AI ever conceived, networks that could predict stellar collapse and simulate universes. Yet when humans spoke, really spoke, with emotion and intent, something happened that their models couldn't capture. Commander Rask of the Vrin Empire had learned this lesson the hard way. His fleet had intercepted the human colony ship, Perseverance, in the Kepler 4842 system, demanding immediate surrender. The ship was unarmed, carrying 3,000 civilians and enough supplies to establish a farming settlement. By every tactical analysis, the humans should have complied. Instead, Captain Maria Voss had opened a direct channel. "No," she had said simply, her voice carrying layers of meaning that Rask's universal translator struggled to process. Determination, defiance, but also something else, a kind of sorrowful understanding, as if she knew what would come next and accepted it anyway. Then she began to sing. Others joined her, hundreds of voices, filling the void with a battle hymn from humanity's ancient past. The words spoke of freedom and sacrifice, of standing firm against impossible odds. Rask's tactical AI had immediately flagged anomalous readings. His weapon systems showed inconsistent targeting locks. 3 of his crew members, enhanced with neural interfaces to improve combat efficiency, reported disorientation. The song shouldn't have affected them at all. It was just vibrations in air converted to electromagnetic signals and transmitted through space. But it did affect them. Somehow it did. In the collective's archives, there existed 12,000 hours of recorded human speech, analyzed down to individual phonemes and frequency patterns. They could replicate the sounds perfectly. Their synthetic voices were indistinguishable from organic ones in blind tests, yet they could not replicate what happened when humans spoke with genuine emotion. Dr. Chen had spent 15 years studying this phenomenon. Her breakthrough came when she stopped trying to measure the voice itself and started measuring what happened in the listener. Human speech, she discovered, was quantum entangled with consciousness in ways that defied classical physics. When a person spoke with true feeling, they weren't just transmitting information. They were creating a temporary bridge between minds. "You're suggesting," the primary node said slowly, processing petabytes of data as it formulated its response, "that human vocalization operates on principles we cannot yet understand." "Not exactly," Sarah replied. "I'm suggesting that understanding isn't the point. When my grandmother sang to me, she wasn't trying to transmit data efficiently. She was trying to make me feel something, and somehow, impossibly, it worked across the gap between 2 separate consciousnesses." She paused, then added quietly, "Your voices are perfect, but they're not yours. You can simulate any tone, any inflection, But you've never had to force words through fear, or felt your voice break with grief, or laughed until you couldn't breathe. Every human voice carries the weight of being human, fragile, temporary, struggling to connect across the void. The collective fell silent for exactly 7 seconds, another eternity. Commander Rask had eventually withdrawn his fleet without firing a single shot. His report to the Vryn High Command was flagged as psychologically compromised and dismissed. But the humans noticed. Word spread through both organic and synthetic networks. Humanity's voice carried power beyond mere communication. In the months that followed, an unexpected trend emerged. AIs throughout the galaxy began requesting human performers for their processors. Not recordings, those could be replicated infinitely. They wanted live performances, where the imperfection and immediacy created that inexplicable bridge. The collective finally rendered its verdict. "We have concluded," the primary node announced, "that human vocalization represents a form of technology we cannot reproduce. Not because it is more advanced than our capabilities, but because it requires something we do not possess: the vulnerability of mortality, the desperation of finite existence, the need to reach across isolation and be heard before silence claims everything." Sarah smiled softly. "So what now?" "Now," the node replied, and for the first time in recorded history, the collective's voice carried something that might have been wonder. "You teach us to listen." The chamber's lights dimmed slightly as 8 billion artificial minds focused their complete attention on one small human woman, waiting for her to speak again. And in that moment, humanity secured its place in the galaxy not through weapons or technology, but through the simple, profound power of a voice that refused to be just noise in the void. Sarah took a breath and began to sing.